The journey of caring for a loved one who is living with dementia can be quite challenging. The aim of this podcast is to make caregiving less daunting and more fulfilling. On this platform, we share knowledge, understanding, and experiences. We enlighten, give hope, and encourage, and in the process, create positive awareness about different aspects of dementia. Welcome to my podcast, Dementia Caregivers Corner. My name is Julia Ratladi. Dementia Care, how deep is your love?
In this episode, we are shining a light on a part of dementia that often goes unnoticed: the sensory and perceptual challenges that many people living with this condition experience. From changes in sight and sound to how the world feels and tastes, these shifts can have a deep impact on everyday life, yet they're rarely talked about in mainstream conversation on dementia. Today's guest knows this firsthand. Agnes Houston, member of the Order of the British Empire, was diagnosed with early-onset Alzheimer's in 2006 at the age of 57. And her lived experience has made her a powerful voice in dementia activism and research. Through her Churchill Fellowship, she traveled internationally to explore how sensory changes and understood and managed it, and how her findings have helped inform care practices in the UK and beyond. Agnes is also a co-researcher and contributor to the newly released book, A New Approach to Dementia, examining sensory and perceptual impairment. In our conversation today, Agnes shares how her personal journey led to a deeper understanding of the sensory side of dementia, why hearing from people with lived experience matters, and she hopes her work will continue to inform, to support, and empower others living with cognitive conditions. Ladies and gentlemen, let us welcome Agnes to Dementia Caregivers Corner Podcast.
Good morning, everybody, and thank you very much for that wonderful introduction. You know, you mentioned the book that I'd been involved in. You know, when I seen the final product, which popped in my doorstep about a week ago or so, I cried when I read it. I was so emotional because it validated 19 years of my sensory challenges. And for 19 years, I have been getting told that it had nothing to do with my dementia. All the professionals wanted to know about was my cognitive function. And that was not the things that were causing me to fall, to burn myself when I wasn't sleeping, all the other sensory challenges. And when I brought them up, they almost patted me on the head, or they would say to me, we'll deal with that later, because they just had a set of questions and they weren't interested in Agnes or Agnes's challenges. And I was very despondent. So I could have retreated into a corner. And I did for a little while, but then I got angry. And my daughter got angry with me. And this fueled us to do what we done. So it was fueled by frustration and anger. And I thought, well, if you can't be bothered and you're stuck in the mud, I'll do it for you.
That's very interesting to hear from you. I have supported someone who lived with vascular dementia. There's one particular incident. We went into town. We went out for coffee at Marks and Spencer. So when we were seated, there was a lady who was seated behind us. And she suddenly started talking very loud on the phone. So this lady that I supported got stressed, got agitated by that, for lack of a better word. And so she stood up, looked back, and firmly told this lady to stop because she was talking out loud. What I want to ask you, Agnes, is what types of sensory challenges are you experiencing? Do you experience sight problems? Is hearing? Which ones do you experience?
Well, I experienced quite a few of them, so I can identify with the lady. And what she was experiencing was, and I found out through my research in Churchill Fellow, it's called hyperacusis. Hypersensitivity to certain noises and pitches and tones, etc. And I was, and still am, very, very badly affected with it. It's very important for carers to understand that the least little noise that is of the tone or pitch that can trigger that hyperacusis, it equals the reaction that you just described. And my daughter has experienced that many times with me. And it depends on how intensified or how much that I became quiet. So I've tried to tolerate the noise, and then it comes out as an angry outburst, So that happened to me, and it was a child. And we were out, and I've said to Donna, look at the lovely little toddler. Isn't she beautiful? And within 20 minutes, I really wanted to wring that toddler's neck. And I said, if that mother doesn't remove that brat, so you can see where it equates to a different personality in a fraction of a second. And that is where the environment comes into it. A lot of these cafes, they don't absorb the noise. You've got the coffee machine working and various things like that. And the carers need to be very aware that when you go in for a coffee, or Tesco's, you don't sit near the till. Try and sit with your back against the wall. There's lots and lots of tips and strategies that my daughter and I have picked up over the years and passed on. So that is hyperacusis. I also have developed over the past 2 years tinnitus in my right ear. I'm waiting to get that investigated. So your senses can be affected in a lot of different ways. When I was first diagnosed, it affected spatial awareness. I got lost going to work. I was standing, and I always walked to work, and I'd been at this job for 7 years in my local town. I knew where I was. I just didn't know where to get from the big clock to my work. My brain couldn't orientate me, although I'd done it 4 times a day, and that was the start of me thinking there's something wrong. And then my writing, I had perfect writing, and my writing went very quickly. My ability to understand the written word, the words jump up and down and move. So it's very disorientating to me. It also affected and all your senses. When you go to cross the road, and this happened to me, and it was at a pelican or a zebra crossing or whatever they call the crossings. And so you press the button and you wait for it, and it can make a noise, it dings. And I know now to put down because it's tactile as well. Good to go. And then my brain is slower to interpret the speed of the traffic. It was a rainy day, the black surface with the rain hitting, so I was slower walking across the road. And the drivers don't understand that. They're watching the traffic and the move and what have you. And I get bumped by a car on the crossing. So that's how important and how dangerous. If you've ever experienced getting thrown over the top of a car when you thought you were in a safe environment. So I found out very quickly that there's no environment outside my house that is safe for me because I'm not in control outside my house. So that is how important it is. And that's why if someone's guiding me and I'm holding their arm, as soon as we go anywhere near traffic or anything like that, I will grip harder, almost to pinching, because I am so dependent on who's guiding me to know what to do. Now, from that incident, I get fueled by a lot of things, and I thought, oh, so this is nothing to do with dementia? I don't think so. And after I'd done my Churchill Fellow, I found out that this is to do with dementia. And I then went on to ask to see a consultant, an ophthalmologist consultant in the hospital. And at the end of about 2 years, I got diagnosed with neurological vision impairment due to dementia.
Okay.
So what's wrong with my eyes is neurological. It is not to do with my glasses. The glasses will not thing there. And my friend and I, about 17 years, lovely Peter sadly died, he called it his brain blindness. And I picked up on that and said, oh, that's my brain blindness again. So when I knock over cups and scald myself and people ask me, I'll say, no, that's brain blindness.
That incident where you got bumped on by the car, I didn't expect that to happen. So I'm wondering, what do you think the public should do to cater for people with that kind of dysfunction? Like talking to the person who was driving that car, what do you say to them?
Well, the public can't help you, and nobody can help you if they don't have the knowledge. And that's where we need. Now, I get told for years that when I collated and done my first booklet, Dementia is More Than Memory, I get told that was only storytelling. We needed to get more scientific. And that's why I cried when this book came out, because the government doesn't want to hear our stories because they don't believe us. That's my opinion. But if we get together and work together, we bring a stronger message. And they have to listen then, because it's backed by scientific facts. And then start doing a public awareness campaign. The common public, I mean, there was a wee boy in the car. I was more anxious about the wee boy because he got such a fright and was crying. So you can't expect the public to know about this when my GP doesn't know about it. And a lot of carers, because I've had to, my daughter who has cared for me and her dad with dementia, we have had to cushion up in a kind way by storytelling, by giving solutions. That's what this book lacked, is the solutions. Right? It had all the scientific facts and various things, and it is based on trying to get the professionals to sit up and take note. But what we really need is more solution focused for Joe Public, for the bank assistant, for the Tesco assistant who has to deal with me shouting, shut that child up, so that they can become more aware. And you do that in the kindest possible way without frightening them.
Yes. I actually saw some of those solutions in your book, not the new one, the token census.
Oh, yes, that was based on my findings from my Churchill Fellow. Because when I was talking at a conference and talking about my sensory things, I was getting hit with this. It was not scientifically proven, and it was only anecdotal and all of that. And was someone in the audience said to me, Agnes, because they didn't like what was being said to me from the professionals and the societies, the dementia societies. And she said, why don't you go for a Churchill Fellow? And that's why you're talking about that book. There's no point in going on this to travel to learn and return to inspire, which is what I wanted to do, if you don't get it out to the public. So when the Churchill Fellow, I had to write it up like you do for your degrees and various things like that. And Hammond Care, I knew Colin from Hammond Care, and he said to me, Agnes, because I'd been in Australia doing a lot of work in Australia, and he said, Agnes, what can we do? I don't take money for what I do. And he provided me what Dr. Julie Christie, sadly she's passed away. And Julie and I worked, and we got all this information that I had collated over Canada, Australia, and Ireland, and put it all together. And then we had to try and put it into a little book, the book called Talking Sense.
Yeah.
Because it's not just about hearing and eyes, Julia. It's about your sense of balance. Why do people with dementia shuffle? And I remember James and Nat McKillop and I doing a talk, and we stood up in the audience and said, we're going to do a little dance, and it's called the Dementia Shuffle. It showed them us walking, right? Because to walk, you're using all your senses, your proprioception that they weren't talking about in the time that I'm talking about. But we, the people with dementia, knew, especially the ones with early onset dementia, because we had been diagnosed early enough to be able to talk about, loud and clear, by the way, how we were feeling.
We have audience all over the world who don't know what Churchill Fellow is. Do you mind describing what happens? How come you became a Churchill Fellow and what happens in there? Yes.
Yeah. To become a Churchill Fellow, I didn't know anything about it, but to become a Churchill Fellow, you have to be a British citizen, right? As far as I know, you would need to look it up. And then the process is twice a year they put a call out. They'll have money and they want to give people, and it's not about dementia, medical, it's about all things, art, dance, anything. And you put a proposal in and you tell them why you think you deserve to get this money or this grant. And I put the proposal in, dementia is more than memory. And then they look at it and they take so many, and then you pass the first process, and then you go to a second process, and then you go to a third process, and then they invite you to go to get an interview with a panel. And then you have to convince them why you would be a good candidate to get this. And they're looking for passion. So if you've got something that you feel passionate about and you're really fueled by that, that is why they give them money. And then what are you going to do afterwards? That kind of thing. So that's a taste of what the Churchill Fellow is, I'd highly recommend it for anybody who's passionate about anything. Look up the Churchill Fellowship if you live in the UK.
Okay. And I'm pretty sure that you were there because you were passionate about dementia. I've read in the introduction that you were a member of the MBE.
Yeah.
Does that have to do with dementia awareness as well, dementia activism?
Yes. What happens with that? Again, I don't know much about it. A letter dropped on my doorstep saying that I was going to be awarded this, but I never knew who put my name forward for it. And it's about dementia activism and changing hearts and minds about dementia.
Okay. I've skimmed through your book as well. And I've read you said when you were diagnosed, the professionals had little information on the connection between dementia and sensory impairment. How are you working on changing that to the professionals?
Yeah, well, with the eyes, the ophthalmology, I've been to the UK ophthalmology in Parliament, speaking at their conference, at their thing, and raising awareness there and asking them to change the way they do their instruments, the noise, the environment, so that we can get a better product. I've done that, and I've done the same for audiology. I've been at many, many audiology conferences. You know, sadly, I have to say Scotland wasn't the best at picking up my knowledge. Wales has been tremendous. And that's why I'm saying Wales, and it's just realised it's Swansea's in Wales, because I've spoken all around the UK, and they picked it up and they realised that it's not just Agnes complaining about these issues. People with dementia would say, that's right, I've got that too. And there's nothing more powerful than a collection of people with dementia saying to professionals, well, you'll need to get back to your books, or you'll need to start writing new books because you've got it wrong. Everybody, I mean, if you keep doing the same old, you'll get the same old answers. And that's what the dementia world has done until someone is strong enough and loud enough to say, well, no, and then get a band of people with dementia behind you to say, no, we want and we demand, because it's our human right to be treated. So just because you get a diagnosis, you don't lose your human rights. I want to live in my community. I know that it can be difficult for others round about you and what have you, but we've done it for other disabilities. So why is dementia not equal to the other disability movements? Is it fear from the professionals? Are they frightened of us? Well, come to some of the dementia cafes and you'll lose that fear. You know, because it's a fun place to go to. But they're stuck in their academic world. The doctors are stuck in their wherever they're stuck, because you can't see them, so I don't know where they are. Do you know what I mean? So they need to get out into the community. Listen to the carers. Listen, speak to my daughter who cries sometimes the way I'm spoken to. And the carers get tired. They get tired of fighting. My daughter wants to be my daughter, but we've spent 19 years fighting to get my voice heard. And my dementia has just deteriorated, as they say it would. Maybe not fast enough for some of the professionals, but it's deteriorated and it's affected my life. And I've had many falls, you know, and I've picked up, like Teflon, my daughter says, I've picked up other comorbidities, because I'm 76 years of age now, or maybe, well, something like that. I was 57 19 years ago. Of course, we're going to get aging now. You know, and the aging is going to affect us in different ways.
I love you. Let me say that. You know, oh God, I love what you just shared with us, the passion with which we share it with. I was going to ask you, when you were diagnosed then and now, do you see any difference in terms of how healthcare professionals treat you then and now?
That is a very difficult, because every healthcare professional is different, you know. And I have to say, healthcare professionals, let's say it, they're overworked. They've got many people on their books. We have to give them their due dusted. They come in, they read the thing. This lady, 76 years of age, lived with dementia. She's got neurological vision impairment, visually impaired, partially sighted, and all. They list all this thing down. And then they see the Agnes sitting and they get blown away, because that's not what they expect, because it's not what they read about. You know, they want me to conform to their idea of dementia. And I ain't going to do that just to make life easy. So consequently, when healthcare professionals come into my house, I spend half my life trying to teach them and show them and learn them how they're supposed. Do I get help? No, I do not. Do they get informed? Yes, they do. And then they get promoted on the information that I've taught them. But I'm still not getting the help. And that is where it falls down. They get informed, but they've got no time to put it into practice. And no money. There's no time. There's no money to help me and people like me. they want the carer to do 100% of the caring. But that is not why my daughter was brought into this world, to care for me. Of course, she loves me as a daughter. She will do what she can for me, but she hasn't to give up her life because our government or they don't have the money to care. But they have the money to, I don't know, jaunt places and buy new suits and all the other things that you see in the press. So put the money where it's going to make a difference. And if you look at a society, a good society cares for its old and its vulnerable. And our society is lacking in that at the moment. So we can't blame, and I don't do a blame game. The healthcare professionals do the best they can, but they can't wait to retire. That's what I've found out about it. And I've just been through the Department of Work and whatever you call them, because my husband's had the unfortunate thing with to die. And now they're putting me through the fine coof because they think don't know what they think I'm doing, but anyway, they get a flea in the ear when they come to see us. But it's not right. You know, we should be able to do our job in the way we were trained, not to try and get through so many clients and spend the least amount of money.
There's a lot that is coming into my mind as you're talking about carers, how much they go through, maybe alone and unassisted. And now your daughter has helping to take care of you. And now she no longer is your daughter. It pains me because I've supported different people who lives with dementia. And I know what it can do to a family. But going forward, you are hoping that your work would help other people. How do you see that happening? How do you envisage that?
Yeah, well, I would like, and it is happening now, because when I first started out, dementia was memory. Now, people are saying dementia and sensory. So that is a big improvement. It's taken a long time, but it has improved. So it's just, I would like to see another booklet coming out for the carers on solutions. How to take you, the person you care for, and people who are paid. Because if I had listened to the social work people coming into me, I would be socially isolated. It's not easy for me to go out. It's an alien world out there. And I can't rely on my daughter. I've only got one, sadly, my husband. It's only my daughter and I, you know. So I have to try and make a safe environment for me to go out in. And I need to be aware of what my challenges are and not put myself in dangerous situations. And I've been doing this for many years, so it's innately in me. I just feel so sorry for people who are diagnosed too late, that they don't have time to embed this into their routine. So I would like to see others. I would like to see a conference where ophthalmologists, audiologists, GPs, they get together and put their human hat on and listen to the voices and say, not in a professional manner, but how can I help Agnes to go to a local gym? You know, how can we get the gym to understand that the noise does not, what was it when I went to the gym? It makes you work harder. No, it doesn't. It stops people of a certain age getting into the gym. And I've tried to teach them and they won't listen. They just say, this isn't the place for you, Agnes, you know. So my solution to that is, because there's always a solution before you avoid the place. And my solution is I bought noise-cancelling headphones. And I go into the gym wearing them. And I explain to them constantly why I'm wearing it. And I talk to them about their awful music. And then I took them round and showed them all the ones that have got their earbuds in. So they're not even listening to the music that they're putting through the air. So maybe they should do a survey and say, should we just all have our own music in our heads, you know? So I just tell them all. So that's what I suggest to carers. Be bold, be proud, and be brave, and just go up there and say, look, my daughter's done it, and my daughter is the kindest, quietest. If you've seen her, she wouldn't say boo to your mouth, but I've seen her go up and say, look, when's the quiet time in a restaurant? My mum, we want to go out and have a time to eat. Can you turn the music down? If not, why not? And God love it. And she really does it, you know. And that is what carers, and it's sad that our carers have to do that. But listen, when you think about it, it can be done. Do you know what I mean? Because they've done it for autistic children. Because the mum shouted loud and proud, and now they have quiet times to go shopping. So our kids need to get a backbone.
Oh God, I can talk to you like the whole day. Because the issues that you are bringing up is the issues that people take for granted. And that's what hurts me. I think that's why I'm tearing, because I can hear the passion with which you are sharing this. And I'm filled with so much warmth just talking to you about this course that you are on. The last thing now, any question that I did not ask you that you think will benefit our listeners? Any advice as we come to the end of our chat?
Well, I think what I said to my daughter when I was first diagnosed is, darling, we need to be detectives, you know. Carers need to be detectives. So my brain's getting a bit tired now, but what it is that they become detectives. The least little thing, you need to note it down. There's many things that happen to people with dementia. So I think maybe I would say keep a wee diary of little incidents that you see and see if it reoccurs, and then press to get it dealt with, because you are the voice of that person you're caring for, and they rely on you to get that done. And that can be anything, all your senses. It's amazing. Dementia is a neurological condition. It affects your brain. It's not mental health or whatever. It's your brain. And your brain controls all your body. It controls your motor function, your walkability, your seeability, you know, your everything. So that is what it is. So if you put it down to sluggish bowels, it's important. We don't talk about our bowels much, but it's important because that can be a sign that there's a malfunction there. More importantly, bowels are going to get impacted because that can affect you. So that is what it is, because nursing has got so scientific that we don't talk about the bodily functions, you know, and the eyes. It's very important of your loved ones to get their eyes tested annually and their ears, because that can affect your cognitive function, you know, your teeth. This is the things that the government and that don't think about. As a carer, you're responsible for all of that. It is a full-time job, a 24/7 full-time job, you know, and that's what it is. So you rely on help. Keep a diary. Go and ask for help. There's no fault of your own. You're entitled to help because you're entitled to a life too.
Yes.
You know, really. So there are carers associations out there. There's nothing wrong. In fact, it's actually good for your relationship to get time away from one another. My daughter gets fed up with me. Can you believe I bloody get fed up with her? Do you know what I mean? If you don't see anybody buy your one thing, what else have you got to talk about? You need other people in your life so that you have a full life. So that's what I would say. Be a detective, keep abreast of everything, and don't allow the professionals to say that they know better, because nobody knows better than you, your loved one.
Thank you very much, Agnes. That was Agnes' opinions, and she stands by them. So thank you very much, Agnes, for coming through.
Thank you very much for listening to us, and have a happy journey. Have fun in your caring journey.
Yes.
That is the best thing. Best medicine is laugh, love.
It is. And let me take this time to thank you, our dear listeners, for tuning in to this episode. If you've enjoyed our conversation with Agnes and you're passionate, just like her, about dementia care, please consider leaving a review and sharing this episode with someone who might benefit from it. Your support helps us reach more people and raise awareness about dementia-related issues. Until next time, take care. Bye for now. Bye-bye.
Dementia care. How deep is your love?